I'm old, not obsolete. Okay, so sorry, this is a little bit late. Trying to get you one every week, and it didn't happen. I unfortunately had to work on Saturday, and Sunday was not a very good mental day for me, and just could not get in here and do this. I'm trying to get these movies watched and recorded on the same day so that I'm fresh in it. Because if I don't do that, then it takes me forever to get in here and do these. Anyway, I wanted to give you a quick few disclaimers just before we get too into this. These videos are completely unedited and unfiltered. There's not much to watch. A lot of people just listen to it kind of like a podcast, which is perfectly fine. I very seldom have any visual references, unless you want to see me waving my hands around as I talk. And just so you know, spoilers will happen, especially for the movie that I'm reviewing, which tonight is Clash of the Titans, the original 1981, not the, I won't even mention remake piece of, anyway. The spoilers will happen, and I will put a list of the movies underneath the video that shows what movies I give spoilers away for, what movies I just quote, and what movies I simply just mention, so that you can avoid spoilers if you want. I wanted to do a quick little, I watched 3 movies on the poster between the last review and now. Once Upon a Time in America, which was also Sergio Leone. I said on one of the other reviews, I watched Once Upon a Time in the West. This time I watched Once Upon a Time in America. I did not realize that these were both Sergio Leone. I also did not realize when I got it from Netflix DVD. So sad that Netflix DVD is going away. Side note, I hate that. In 10 days, it goes away. Ugh. Anyway, I got it from them, and only when I got it did I realize it was the director's version, which was over 4 hours long. Oh my God. Okay, if it were like Lord of the Rings and it was worth it, well then great. Lord of the Rings kept me captivated. The story was great, and the things that they put into the extended editions, which were over 4 hours long, made sense. This Once Upon a Time in America was just insanely too long. And so many shots that I'm like, why are we still watching the kids walk down the street of New York and nothing is happening for 10 minutes? Not really for 10 minutes, but it felt like that. I just think it was just entirely too long, and the fact that they made a director's cut, why would you want to make it longer? I enjoyed the story to a degree, but if I want to watch something like that that's epic, where it shows the kids and the adults and a very serious theme, I think Sleepers is a much better film. It keeps me captivated the entire time. The acting is fantastic. The pacing is wonderful, and you get a great story. I don't think Once Upon a Time in America, even though I liked the story, did not need that much of storytelling. It was a very more or less simplistic, storyline. Didn't have a whole lot going on there. I didn't think it needed to, but it was nice to watch simply for the history of it. To see, Sergio Leone's film and Ennio Morricone's music. I love his music, and it's so sad that it took him so long to win an Academy Award. Anyway, I'm not doing a review of that. I enjoyed watching it for the history of it, seeing, James Woods and Robert De Niro and all these people that I had seen, before in a film together. Joe Pesci, even though he had a very, very small part, and, just so many people. It was really neat to see that. So I didn't love it. Definitely not going to do a review of it. I also watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and was fucking blown away. It was so damn good that, no joke, before the credits were over, I was on Amazon and I bought it. It was amazing. And maybe one of these days, since I've bought it, maybe one of these days I will do a review of it, because it is on the poster and I could totally do a review of it, because I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And like I said, maybe I should do a review. And the other night I watched Apocalypse Now. Holy shit. I was not expecting to like it. I didn't love it, but I really liked it, and there were some really like insane things that happened in it. The acting is fantastic. Oh my God, Martin Sheen and Robert Duvall and Marlon Brando, and give me a fucking break. You know, Dennis Hopper was fantastic. And then I didn't even realize Lawrence Fishburne is in this. It was like, holy shit, that's Lawrence Fishburne? Half the time I kept going, wait, is it? Yeah, it is, isn't it? No, it's not. Yeah, it is. So the movie overall, Apocalypse Now, was quite an epic. Beautifully done. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. If you haven't seen it, give it a chance. It is a little long. I watched the Redux version, which was like 3.5 hours long, but in my opinion, worth it. I guess I'm just not a fan of Sergio Leone and his pacing. This was Francis Ford Coppola did Apocalypse Now, and I loved it. So anyway, not doing a review of those, just wanted to give you an update. I'm up to 18 now on the poster. Like I said, I try to do reviews of mile points. So once I hit 25, I will definitely make sure whatever is 25 is something that I will review. This time I am reviewing Clash of the Titans, which is not on the poster, but is a qualifying movie in the book. So I don't want to make this review for forever long, and I already spent 5-6 minutes doing a quick review of some other things. So we will get right into challenge number 7, a stop motion film. Now, yes, this is not entirely a stop motion film, but the reason I chose this, and it asked me later on, why did you choose this film? One of the reasons why I chose this as the stop animation or stop motion film challenge number 7 is because Ray Harryhausen is on a level of his own when it comes to special effects. He was like the master for so long of special effects. The way I view Stan Winston, oh my God, Stan Winston is just remarkable, like outstanding, 1 in a billion. Like the talent of that man it blows my mind, and I know that people felt the same way about Ray Harryhausen for so long. He had done such great work with stop animation in films, Jason and the Argonauts, and a bunch of the Sinbad movies. And anyway, he's known for this, and that is why I decided to do this challenge for this film. Plus, I fucking love this movie. Year released, 1981. Aspect ratio, 1.85:1. Running time, 1 hour and 58 minutes. Genre, action-adventure. And it says family. So this is technically a family film. It's rated PG. Anybody could watch this. It's fantastic. I love it. There's nothing in it that, I'll talk about that. Date challenge completed, 9/16. Again, I'm sorry this is late. I watched this movie 2 nights ago. I rate it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Directed by Desmond Davis. Produced by Charles S. Schneer and Ray Harryhausen. Fucking Ray Harryhausen, love him. Written by Beverly Cross. Music by Lawrence Rosenthal. Okay, the music is amazing. Like, epic, sweeping music. If ever I wanted like big Adventure Time music, this is one of those soundtracks that always pops right in my head as huge and adventurous and wonderful. I mean, Conan the Barbarian and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. There are just certain soundtracks that are just like big and epic and adventurous. Now, to a degree, I kind of feel like Jurassic Park is halfway on that level, because there are wonderful parts to it that are amazing and sweeping and great. I'm not saying that it's not a great soundtrack. Jurassic Park was one of the first soundtracks I ever bought. But adventure, big, sweeping, that's what I think of when I think of Clash of the Titans. And like I said, Clash of the Titans and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Conan the Barbarian, and things like that. Okay, so anyway, awards received. Young Artists, it didn't win any Academy Awards. Young Artists Award, Best Picture. It won Best Picture. And then the Academy of Science fiction, fantasy, and horror films gave it Best Supporting Actor Burgess Meredith. Oh my God, he's so wonderful. Oh, did I not say who was starring? Oh goodness, starring Harry Hamlin, Laurence Olivier, Maggie Smith. If you guys know who Maggie Smith is, if you haven't seen this film, and you know Maggie Smith from the Harry Potter films, Burgess Meredith. I mean, so many great actors in this movie that make this a wonderful, eclectic film, a fun film to watch. Why did you choose this particular film? I love this movie. And it's the only movie, and I'll say this now, so you get to learn some things about me. Okay, so I've said in other reviews that I was watching horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser and things like that, and Phantasm when I was like 8 years old, and none of it ever scared me because when I was young, my mother told me one time, and it always stuck with me. She told me this is just make believe. Like, these movies are just make believe. It's not real, and so I've never been really scared by a film except for Clash of the Titans. Now, I know you might think that is ridiculous. There's nothing in Clash of the Titans that would scare anyway. And I just said it was a family movie. It's a PG. How can it scare you more than Nightmare on Elm Street or Hellraiser or Phantasm? Well, okay. So, Calabas. Calabas is punished and transfigured and punished by the gods. And that idea always freaked me out. That he was, I grew up in a very religious household, and so just the idea of the gods punishing him and transforming him, and like Zeus says, he will become abhorrent to human sight. And just the idea of that always freaked me out. So when it came time to show Calabas, I literally was sweating. I literally was like freaking out. He always scared the shit out of me. And then when they finally show him, oh my God, I was beside myself. So Clash of the Titans, as a kid, I'm saying as a kid, by the time I turned, 11 or 12, that stopped bothering me at all. I could watch this movie and no problem. Maybe I was a little old. Maybe I was 13 or 14 when it stopped bothering me. But this movie used to scare the shit out of me, and it was Calabas himself. It had nothing to do with the rest of the film. It was him. He scared the hell out of me. Like, ugh. Have I seen this? Absolutely. I've seen this plenty of times. I own it. I don't know. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of times. It's just a fun fantasy film. Okay, yes, it's Harryhausen, and so the special effects are outdated. Absolutely. If you watch this now and you've never seen it before, you're going to watch it and go, oh my God, the special effects are fucking horrible. Yes, I get it. But for the time... And if you're watching it for Harryhausen's art, then absolutely, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. Would you recommend this? Yes, I would recommend this to anybody. Like I just said, it does not follow the Greek myth at all. I used to read Greek myth when I was younger. It doesn't follow the Greek myth at all. So you got to kind of throw that out the window. But neither does Disney. Disney never follows anything. So they're not going to follow Grimm, the original stories. They're not going to follow myth. This does not follow the myth 100%, obviously, but it's still fun. It's fun. It's fantastic. I love it. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with in what way? Perseus, absolutely. And it's not that I view myself as a god or a demigod. It's because I've always felt like I was meant for something more than what I'm doing. I am an actor, and I will be in film someday, and people will review my films like I'm doing now with, Laurence Olivier, Harry Hamlin, and plenty of other, Maggie Smith and plenty of other people. I forgot to mention somebody that's in this movie. I know she plays a tiny little part, but Ursula Andress is in this movie, and if you don't know who she is, the only reason why I do know who she is because she's the original James Bond girl from Dr. No. So I just wanted to mention her. I didn't write it down, but I wanted to make sure that got mentioned. She plays Aphrodite in this film. Of course, this is way after, Dr. No was like 1963, and this is 1981. Best line or memorable quote. I love it when Calabas, after Perseus, okay, spoiler alert, okay, after Perseus cuts off his hand and he goes to complain to his mother, the goddess, the statue, and he's punished those that Perseus loves, release the Kraken. I love it when he says, release the Kraken. It's a Kraken. Specifically when he says it. Plenty of people say that throughout the movie, but when he says it, it's fantastic. I love it. I've gotten to love that line so much, obviously after Calabas stopped scaring me. Were you surprised by the ending? No. I was not surprised by the ending. This is a Hollywood ending. I'll talk about more about that later. Why do you think stop motion was chosen for this film rather than animation? Well, like I've already said, Harryhausen was the man, and he special effects and and it's just a style. It's the type of film. It's like I said, Jason and the Argonauts and the Last Voyage of Sinbad and things like that. It was a style. It was a thing. This was a Harryhausen film. Of course, it's going to be stop. The special effects are going to be stop animation. The creatures and things like that. Anything else you'd like to say? I would love to see a movie that actually sticks to the Greek myth. They've done so many different Hercules stories, and they've done so many different, the Percy Jackson films. I love them. I think they're fun. I think they're great. But I would like to see, I would like to see them take one of these stories and literally stick to what the Greek myth said, and really get the point across, because they're really good. Like I said, I used to read them, and I really liked them. Okay, the last little thing it says here in the book: in stop motion, it typically takes 12 images to create 1 second of film. That equals 64,800 pictures needed for a 90-minute film. And this is longer than a 90-minute film. But, of course, this whole film is not, the whole thing is not stop animation. Okay, let's get to my notes. I already did that, about the music. The music is fantastic. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier is... this is the only thing I think I've ever seen that I really know him from. I mean, I could probably look up his IMDb and see if I've ever seen anything else, but on the top of my mind, this is the only thing I can think of in my brain that I've seen that he's actually in. And side note, I love it in Last Action Hero when she introduces, she goes, you're going to see a clip from Hamlet, played by Laurence Olivier, if you've seen him in the Kodak commercials or as Zeus in Clash of the Titans. I love that she references Clash of the Titans in that film. That's special effect where he's sitting on the throne and like the beaming blue lights behind his head. I think that's such a cool idea. And the smoke, the fog or whatever, the fog machine blowing smoke. I think that's such a cool idea and would never fly today. Like, you would never, ever do that today. It looks semi-hokey, and, nowadays it's all computer, so they would do something cool like that with computer. But I thought it was cool, especially you're watching a movie with special effects done by stop animation, so there's a gritty and a reality feel to it, and a little bit of a campy feel to it, which is fine, and that's what you're watching the movie for. And so I kind of like that it definitely shows the age of the film, but I like it. It's neat. Maggie Smith, man. I don't know how old she was in this film. She must have been young. I'm going to say late 20s, early 30s, maybe. And she's such a powerful female presence. Even then, even in a small, semi-small role that she's in. I mean, she's done some other things, not just the Harry Potters, but, Sister Act and Hook. She's such a great, fantastic, wonderful actress. But I was so surprised to really like when I put my review hat on, when I put my movie review hat on, my shirt, unpaid movie critic, when I put my movie critic hat on and really paid attention to her performance, it shocked me how powerful a presence she is, a female presence, in a time where that didn't happen a lot, anyway. Perseus and Calibos, yeah. So Perseus and Calibos, you find out right in the beginning. So Perseus is Zeus's son, and Calibos is Thetis' son. Thetis, Maggie Smith. They were both given so many advantages, and taken care of by their parent. Their god parent. And yet both made such stark contrast decisions, completely different decisions in life that got them to where they are. It's such an interesting thing to show, or to really think about, how they were both blessed by a god, because they are both demigods, and yet took completely different paths, I enjoyed thinking about that this time, really just soaking that in. Oh my God, my handwriting is so bad. Such a real and fun concept that the gods and goddesses will actually actively play with the human experience. I thought that was neat. That they're not just passive, although at times they can be passive, but that Thetis actually takes Perseus from his home and puts him in the amphitheater of Joppa. Like, they are actively playing with the human experience, and I thought that was really neat. It shows a playfulness. It shows an interaction, like the gods actually pay attention, and we're not just forgotten, and we're not just ignored. That they actually do things. And later on in the film, Zeus kind of cheats, and Perseus is falls over and he's exhausted, but Zeus wakes him up. I thought they actually play with the human experience, and I thought that was really neat. Call no man happy who is not dead. I love Burgess Meredith. Okay, when I was younger, I used to watch the old Batman and Robin TV show, the Batman show, with Burgess Meredith as the Penguin. Oh, he was great. And then I own all the Rocky films, and he's just in the first 3 or 4. Actually, he has a cameo in a later one, but he's such a cool presence and such a cool actor and a character and a caricature. He's so fun, and in this he's just great. He's perfect. He's eccentric. He's fun. He's ridiculous. I love him. He's great in this. So many women have attracted him. So Zeus, I love that Zeus is a total slut. And the truth is, if you read the Greek myths, he is. He totally is. And when you watch Disney's Hercules, and you're like, wait, that's not how this happened. And I'm wondering why Disney wouldn't somehow... I mean, this is a family-friendly movie, and yes, so many women have attracted him. They say it in a nice way, that he's constantly having affairs. And he's constantly trying to woo women, They could have said it in a nice way in the Disney Hercules, but they didn't. That was one of the things that kind of bothered me, was where Hercules came from is not where Hercules came from, or how he came to be. The whole reason why he was attacked in the beginning is because Hera didn't like him because he was Zeus's son. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So I thought it was fun that in this movie they keep that that Zeus is a total slut. Perseus's sword. Oh my God. Okay, so there are very few swords in cinematic history that I love so much I would love to have on my wall. In 2005, I won, I think it was from Fandango, I won a sweepstakes and got to go to London. I got to take 3 of my friends, go to London for 5 days, and go to the world premiere of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That was the first one. It was a fantastic experience. Absolutely loved it. Got to meet the stars. Got to go to the party afterwards and hang out with some of them. It was a fantastic, absolutely wonderful experience. And because of my connection to that film, an ex of mine bought me Peter's sword as like a replica of it as a memento to like put on the wall. And it was like a big like live action sword. I used to love that sword. I think it's beautiful, but it's not something that, it's not one of those swords that I would love to have in a glass case on my wall. Okay, there are very few like Conan. Oh my God, the Atlantean sword. Not necessarily his dad's sword. I do like his dad's sword. I have a letter opener replica of his dad's sword. I have a letter opener replica of the Atlantean sword on my work desk. I do love both swords, but I would love to have in a glass case on my wall the Atlantean sword. And am I not wrong? It's Glamdring. I think that's the right one. Those people who are diehard Lord of the Rings fans are probably gonna shoot me if I get this wrong. It's Glamdring, right? Yes, that is Glamdring, which is I am pronouncing that right? Yeah. Glamdring, which is Gandalf's sword. I love that sword. I think it's one of the best swords in the whole film. So that I would love to have on my wall. And then Perseus's sword from Clash of the Titans. It's a little gaudy. I'm not a big fan of gold. This sword is a little gaudy, but it's so perfect for this film, for him, for this film, and for me, being such a huge fan of this film, it's iconically like it's Perseus's sword. Love it. And the gifts, so it's not just the sword, but the helmet and the shield. The gifts were such a fun idea for this film. I thought it was neat. And I thought, hey, this is cool, and each one does something different. And then, Zeus tells him, well, he does say Zeus, right? He says, find and fulfill your destiny. And we set up like this is the adventure of person. Now we're on an adventure. Now we have a quest. Now we have something to do, and we've got these fun things to help us out. I just thought that was really neat. When he gets to the city, so first of all, the when he's walking through all the display before he actually gets to the gates of the city and he gets to that guard, you see like the people in the market and the performers and things like that, the costumes and the grittiness and the actors, everything looks so real and authentic. I love it. I don't know where they filmed this, but it looks great. I mean, yes, there are times in this film where the special effects take you out of it and you're like, wow, this is horrible special effect. It takes me out of the movie, kind of, but it was the style. But watching this whole part where he's coming to the city of Joppa before he gets to the gates and goes into the palace or whatnot, the courtyard or whatnot, it just looks so real. It looks so fun and gritty and real and not like a set. not like in a studio. It looks fantastic. And when he does get to the gate and he meets the guard, a stranger here, and he starts talking to him about everything that's going on, that is such a brilliant way, a brilliant exposition, a brilliant way to get us so much information really quick. And the actor does a great job of telling us, it's the writing and the acting together that were so well that get us into like, okay, now we got the whole background. We get what's going on with the princess. We get what's going on with Calabas again. So it's reinforced. It's reinforced that Calabas has been punished and deformed, and we live in fear of him. All of my anxiety as a kid, all this buildup of my anxiety as a kid, that Calabas scared the shit out of me. So again, here goes the reinforcement of him being, deformed, and we live in fear of him. But that little piece is just such a great little exposition to get us right into it. And here we go. No need to take 5 hours to do it. We did it in like a minute, and we're done. I think it's great. And then we finally get, Harryhausen. So Perseus puts on the helmet, he goes invisible, and he goes into the palace, and he goes into her room at night. And then we finally get Harryhausen. So here comes the giant vulture, and the sounds the vulture make is so cool, and it's so iconic. I'm like, I've seen this so many times, and it's such a callback to when I was a kid listening to that sound that he made, and the wings that are flapping, and it's just great. Oh my God. I mean, as corny as some people might think it is, I think it's fantastic. It's absolutely nostalgia factor. Like, it's just, yes, finally, here comes the giant vulture. Yeah. Oh, Pegasus is too fucking cool. Like, so right after that, he says, they're like, how do you follow a creature that flies? There might be a way. And then they go to get Pegasus, and it's so cool. I love it. I get that it's Harryhausen. I know it's not a real horse, but it's so neat. Like, this is cool. And I love it. If I remember correctly, and it's been a long time since I read it, Pegasus is not in the Perseus story. Perseus has sandals with wings, if I remember correctly. You might be able to fact check me on that. But the original Greek myth, I believe Perseus had the sandals with wings that were given to him, and not the flying horse. But anyway, it's fun. I love Pegasus. How can you not throw Pegasus in some kind of Greek myth? I mean, throw him into the Hercules story, even though he's not in there. Throw him into this story, because even though he's not in. Why? Because it's fucking Pegasus. Like, yeah. And the music, again, the music is fantastic when they get Pegasus. When he flies off, when he first does that whole flight with Pegasus, it's just sweeping and wonderful. And it just embodies like adventure. I love it. When he follows the vulture, oh yeah. So when he gets Pegasus, so when he finally, like, the whole reason why he's getting Pegasus is so he can follow the vulture and find out where the princess is going and what's going on. So as a kid, as cool as that part was, I'm already sweating, going, okay, we're going to go see Calabas. We're going to Calabas's place. I know it. It's coming. It's coming. The anticipation. And then he steps into the frame, and I'm like, ah! And you see the back of him and the tail, and it's not right there that freaks me out, but it's close. It's like, oh my God, there he is, and it freaks out a little bit. And it literally used to, like, my stomach used to wrench, and I'm like, oh my God, it's coming. I'm about to see him. Like, they're gonna show, and then they show his face. She like walks up, and we've already seen him. He walks up, and then they show his throne, and he sits into the throne in his face, and I'm just like, ah! He used to freak me out. Oh my God. I don't remember if I ever had a nightmare of him, but watching the movie was always so gut-wrenching. It always freaked me out. And And the reason why I remember it so dramatically, the reason why I remember it so well, is because nothing has ever scared me like that ever again. It's because, it's because why my mom says it's all make believe, and so that ingrained me with so it's different being shocked into a jump, into a scare, because you're like, oh, that was sudden and it's shocking. And I'm like, okay, there have been really, really good jump moments in a lot of great films, horror films, and others that get me to go, oh, whoa. But it's a shock. I'm not scared. I'm not sweating like some people are. I'm not freaking out, can't watch it. I've never felt nearly as scared as I did watching this as a kid. Never. And the one film that got close, I remember years ago, the one film that got close, I felt like if I would have seen it in the theater, in a dark theater with people not being assholes, like opening a candy wrapper right in the moment where everything's like super silent and really, this is like the girls trying to escape something, and like, the guy's right around the corner, the music is stopped, everything is silent, and you've decided to open your candy now? Like, fucking idiot, get out of the theater. Anyway, the one movie that I always felt like if I would have saw in a theater, in a dark theater, it probably would have scared me the first time I saw it is Event Horizon. Now, I used to think that movie was so good and so compelling and very tense, like, oh my God. But over the years, it has definitely dissipated. That feeling has definitely dissipated to whereas now when I watch it, I'm like, okay, it's good. I don't think it's all that great. I used to think it was a great film, and now it's like, it's lost some of its dramatic feel. I still think it's wonderfully acted. I think a lot of the stuff is set up very, very well. Great camera work, great directing, but it's not as, I don't feel it as epic as I used to think it was, like Fantastic. Anyway, okay, moving on. Oh, remember me how I was. That always, as much as he scared me, I also, Perseus says it later, and this is why I identify with Perseus. He says, I pitied him. I did. Why didn't you kill him? Because I too, perhaps pitied him, and I do too. Every time he says that line, remember me how it's so sad that it takes a punishment like this for him really to kind of show any remorse, even though, yes, he kind of shows a little bit of remorse, but also he continues to do the wrong thing. He continues to be the bad guy. He's torturing her. He's, with the riddles and things like that, with the nightmares, with traveling her, taking her soul, and anyway, he continually does the wrong thing. Yet I think at times he shows, at this time especially, he shows a little bit of regret. Not enough, but yeah, any. When it comes to Calabas, what always scared me more were the times where you can see the actor with the makeup on, not the Harryhausen parts. Because it's so obviously, because of the style, it's so obviously not real when Harryhausen is doing the stop motion. But it looks so much more real and terrifying when the actor just has the makeup and he's talking through and he's acting through. Those are the parts that always freaked me out. Not that I didn't like the parts with Harryhausen that Harryhausen did, because Calabas is both. They do both. I think he's the only one in the entire film where they do both. Sometimes it's Harryhausen doing it with the stop motion, and sometimes it's an actor. And I think mostly that has to do with the tail. Anytime they pull out and they see like a larger part of him, the tail can't be, they couldn't get that right with just makeup, so they, Harryhausen took over, which is great. It's fine. So anyway, the fight in the swamp is My exact note says the fight in the swamp is so cheese, but always makes me feel better. Because he freaked me out so much. It was, and I get that fight is so cheesy, like the way he hits him and he pulls back the sword so dramatically and then comes down. I get that it's cheesy and it's fine, but it always makes me feel like, good triumph over evil type of thing. Even though I know he doesn't get killed, which makes sense, later on. Again, they pity him. I need to, hold on. I'm sitting here sweating like crazy, and I realized the fan is not blowing on me, so I had to move it. Anyway, that feels so much better. Okay, so even though I get the fight is cheesy, it's fine, but it always brought a sense of a hope to the whole thing. And then obviously, after when Perseus, does the riddle, answers the riddle. Oh, and him losing the helmet. I was like, damn, every time he loses the helmet, that was such a cool such a cool ability to be able to go invisible, and then you lose it in what I feel like is the beginning of the movie. Like, you barely used it twice and you lost it. Oh man, that sucks. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I already said that the Perseus answering the riddle is another. So the fight equals hope. Like, I get that sense of hope, and then when he answers the riddle and breaks the curse, quote unquote breaks the curse, there'll be no more bonfires. It feels so wonderful and triumphant, and the music again takes over. So. I said earlier that my favorite line is when Calabas said, "Release the Kraken on the city." So when he talks to his mom, when in wounding me, he has insulted you, and he pleads for revenge, or he says justice. Give me justice, and she says justice or revenge, and he does that. And then they cut away and leave. And finally, as a kid, I was like, finally, I can relax. Like, okay, no more scary Calabas. I'm done. I can relax. Because then the next couple of times they show him, he doesn't do much. They show him in the dark. They don't show him very close. And then the last time they show him, I know that Perseus is going to kill him, so I'm fine. So this is the last time. Yes, this part where he goes to talk to his mom always made me a little anxious. But once that part's over, I always let my guard down. I'm like, okay, finally, that's it. Okay, now I can just enjoy the rest of the movie. Of course, like I said, we're talking about when I was a kid. There are so many times after that I've been able to watch the entire movie and just enjoy it and not be, scared of anything. Again, all the love scenes. Yeah, all the love talk and the love scenes and the and the slow-mo to the hand, the slow-mo touch to the face. It's not that I'm against romantic stuff. I'm not. It's just I never had that connection to it. When I was a kid in the 80s in Northern California, gay was not okay. And I always felt like I would never have that. That's never going to happen to me. Obviously, you're a kid and you think in those huge terms of everything is always going to be the way it is right now. Nothing will ever change, and people will never accept gay people, and I will never know the experience of falling in love with someone is something that is meant to be this Hollywood love Disney, love too, and all this. And I always thought that would never be me. There is no possible way that will ever be me. I remember telling my parents I'll never get married, and they didn't. Oh, you'll find the right girl. They never understood, and I never told them. I didn't tell them until way later. Oh, you'll find the right girl. You'll fall in love, and you'll get married, and you'll have kids. And I always, nope, not me. And they didn't understand, and I never told them that the reason not me is because I was gay, and I knew it. So anyway, but those just cheesy moments is just, but that's part of the film. That's part of the way the film was made, slightly campy like that on purpose, and the slow touch and the slow hand and everything still, and like, okay, I get it. And the kisses are ridiculous, but it's a PG movie. You can't have a real kiss. They can only touch lips, and that's it. And it can only be for so many seconds. I mean, this is 1981, so you limit how long they can touch lips. Literally, no joke. Oh, I have this big, like, why? Okay, when they get married, or when they're about to get married, why? It never made sense to me that she would actually say, my daughter's so lovely, more lovely than the goddess Thetis herself. Why the fuck would you say that? You whether you believe the gods are real or not, you're in Thetis' temple. She is the patron god of your city, Joppa. Why would that even ever occur to you to say that? I get it. We have to further the story. We have to have it. I get it. It's just like, why in the... every time she says it, I'm like, why would you say that? Why? It makes no sense. Oh man, when Calabas captures Pegasus, like, oh man, like, Pegasus is so awesome, and I always feel like, is Calabas gonna kill him? Is Calabas gonna kill? Oh no, poor Pegasus. Oh, nice. When she says, "You are not my lord and husband, not yet," and she makes the decision to go along with him. Tell the queen that I will be riding as Perseus' escort. I love that even in 1981 we have a powerful woman. Yeah. I already said, Thetis is Maggie Smith is such a strong, powerful female presence, but Zeus lords over her, obviously, and so she's at the effect of Zeus's decisions and Zeus's choices. Not to say that she's not powerful, because she does have influence over what's going on, and she she gets insulted and she demands Andromeda's life for it. But I love this tiny little part where up until now, and Andromeda is such a drama queen, such a princess, so quote unquote weak, I guess, and this kind of shows that she has strength behind her, and she is self-aware, and she's a powerful woman. She says, no, right now you are not my husband, and I'm making the choice. Why? Because I am in charge. And I like that. It was nice. Oh, Bubo's the best. Okay, I know sometimes you can see the strings, especially when they did such a great job of like restoring this film to great capacity and made everything look wonderful, and you can obviously see the strings sometimes now, and it's okay. Even in the original Superman films, you can see the strings every once in a while, not all the time, but every once in a while you're like, oh, there's a string. No, which one is it? 2 or 3? 3, I think, when he goes to the chemical fire. That's the most notable one. Like, it's like obviously like he's on strings, but I get that you can't always get rid of it. Or sometimes you forget to and you see them. But you know what? You got to let that go. You can also, when you watch Star Wars, you can see the cutout of the box around the ship as it moves. They've done a really good job of trying to get rid of that. Or when they're in the AT-ATs, you can see through the... Or when they're in the ships, you can see through some of the walls because of the... Anyway, special effects has its limits, and sometimes you see things, but that doesn't mean that, it's still not fantastic to see this this flying like gold metal fucking owl. He's the coolest. I love him, and he's such a goofball, kind of like R2D2. He's such a goofball, but he's fun. He's loyal. He's amazing. He's fun. When he falls on the branch and it. He's so great. He's great. I love Boo-Bo. The Stygian witches are so great. Oh, I love that part. When he goes to meet the Stygian witches and he talks to them, those women talk about wonderful, on-point character actors. These women were fantastic. I wonder, Flora Robson, Anna Monahan, and Frida Jackson. I want to say their names. Why? Because they are outstanding in this film. These three ladies did such a great job, and they deserve recognition. Flora Robson, Anna Monahan, and Frida Jackson. Great character actresses, and such a fun part. And, furthering the story in a great way to do it. And the glass eye. I love the glass eye. That is such a great idea to see through the eye, and how they visualized it on screen with the around like fuzzy and like just the camera, the special effects they did when they're looking through the eye is really cool. I liked how they didn't have eyes that were whited out, that it was actually almost like their skin had been molded to their face, so there was no even eye sockets. I kind of enjoyed that. That was kind of neat on one of them. There's just such a fun part. And the stew, and the guy's hand coming and she puts it back in. Yeah, that's kind of fun. The whole part is just really neat. I love that. Perhaps there's a Titan against a Titan. I'm telling you, these girls are amazing. I love that part. Give us back the eye. Yeah. Oh. That whole part is just they're just great. I love that. I could literally just watch that scene over and over, like a couple, maybe a dozen times. It's just so fun, and I would love to see that. Like, these women were probably fantastic on stage. If they played the witches in the beginning of Macbeth, they probably would be fucking amazing. If they'd done a film version back then, I don't know if they did or didn't, but if these three women had played the witches in the beginning, that would have been. It would have been. They would have killed it. They'd have killed it. Calling Karen the ferryman. Oh, when they call the ferryman, I get it's hard. I think it's even hard nowadays. I don't know if I can think of a time when they've really tried to make fog look real. It's kind of hard sometimes to get fog, but in 1981, it's just it's real bad. And it kind of sucks, but I still love that part. And you can tell, the whole island is superimposed, and the temple on top. I get it. And then when you finally see Charon the ferryman, it is. I get it. You gotta set aside that the special effects are pretty rough at that point. They're not great, but the idea of calling the ferryman, that horn is just, the sound of the horn is so amazing. It's so wonderful. And then, paying him the money, and he doesn't talk. He doesn't move. And the creakiness of his hands closing, it just looks so cool. he looks so cool. They did a really good job with him. I know in film they've done this kind of character multiple times, but Harryhausen's great with skeletal special effects. I love the part in Jason and the Argonauts where the skeletons attack. I love it. And didn't he have skeletons in something else in one of the Sinbad films? I think he did. But the most iconic one is Jason and the Argonauts, where the skeletons attack. The teeth of the Hydra, and they come up. That's so cool. I love it. That part, man. That's probably my favorite part of the whole film is when the skeletons attack. Oh, speaking of which, my next note is the Isle of the Dead always reminded me of Jason and the Argonauts. The battle with the wolf, the two-headed wolf, that whole part always reminded me so much of Jason and the Argonauts, and I don't know why, but it did. Maybe it's the part where they the old blind man and the fairies that are torturing him, and then they capture him. So I think those two parts always kind of reminded me of the same thing. And this whole the maybe Perseus just is not like a worldly person, but that snake, he's so afraid of the snake, and I'm like, dude, it's just a python. Or a constrictor, excuse me. It's just a constrictor, a boa. Like, it's not going to hurt you. It probably wouldn't even bite you. Just you're perfectly fine. It has zero venom, and it's a boa constrictor. It constricts its prey. You're way too big for it. It's not even going to try. Like, just take your sword. Maybe he doesn't know that. I get it. Maybe it's just a big snake and he's like freaking out. I don't know. But I'm like, come on, guy. No big deal. Oh. And then when he does get his sword and he kills the wolf, he stabs one head and it falls over, and then he stabs the other head and it kind of falls, and then the whole thing comes over, and then he comes down and he stabs the whole thing, and, dramatically, like, stabs it. And then I'm like, there's no blood on his sword. Is that like one of the sword's abilities? Like, it never gets blood on it? Because I don't think I mean, the blood is clearly like coming out of the wolf, but we never see it on the sword. We never see the blood on the sword ever. When he chops off, well, we'll get to that. When he chops off, I think that's one of the sword's abilities. It just, it remains bloodless no matter what you do. I guess that's just wishful thinking on my part. Medusa is so badass in this movie. I'm sorry. Even though it is stop animation special effects, and even though it is 1981, I still think watching the Medusa part she's so badass. And they've set it up that way that even today I'm watching it going, yeah, she never says anything. She doesn't say a word. But she's fucking amazing. I love her. I love the way she comes in, and her legs are pushing her, and I think she's awesome. And the whole like glowing eyes thing, I'm like, that's cool. I know it's hokey, but it's cool. Like, she activates her stone, turning people to stone with that glowing eyes. I've always I always think it's funny when he throws the sword and it like dink, like the perfect throw, and then it falls over and bink, and it like perfectly lands like where I guess that's the shield's ability too, is to land perfectly like that. My friends and I go play disc golf every Saturday morning, and sometimes when the disc like hits a rock or lands like perfectly like that, I'm always going, that's like the like Clash of the Titans, the perfect shield throw. After that. Okay, so after he triumphantly gets her head, does he have to pay Charon to take him back? Because he didn't bring an extra coin for that. Maybe it's a round trip. 1 coin round trip. You come back when you... They don't show that part. So right after that, They're all sleeping. I mean, God, how do you sleep in that wind? I mean, the wind was insane. Like, how do you sleep? Anyway, I think I've always thought that part with the giant scorpions was such a cool idea, such a cool part. And as a kid, I remember it being so dark and so gritty and not being clear, like none of it. Like you almost couldn't see their faces, kind of. It was so shadowed and dark. And I thought it was neat because here it is like late night or early morning. And they're having, and I think it's probably supposed to be like early morning. And it's dark and it's gritty and you're watching this fight with these giant scorpions. And I thought it was so cool until along comes trying to remaster these films for HD. And now it did not, that scene does not transfer well, like at all. I remember that being so much better as a kid that watching it now, I'm like, oh my God, it's disastrously horrible. Like you can obviously tell these are two different cells in a layered on each other. Like the background is so gritty and not remastered well, and yet the scorpions are so clear and like it's just obvious. It just did not transfer well. It's sad because I used to love that part, and now every time I watch it on HD, I'm just like, wow, it just, of the whole film, that part just did not transfer well, and it sucks because it was such a cool part. Not sad to see Calabas go. Sorry, not sorry. Bye, Calabas. I love that Bubo saves Pegasus. Like Bubo's such a blundering character, fun, like I said, like R2D2, that he gets his moment of triumph. He gets to save Pegasus, and I love it. It's fantastic. I always love that part is so fun when Bubo gets to do something fantastic, which is save Pegasus. And they burn Calabas's, throne and everything. Oh, you gotta kind of just sometimes, okay, you can always find mistakes in film. I don't care how perfect the film is. You can find mistakes and it's fine. So you got to kind of just let it go. But this whole, like, earlier in the film, he takes the invisible helmet and walks from the amphitheater to Joppa. No problem. He walks there. Okay? And not in a very long point of time because the daylight didn't change much, okay? So, but then here it is at the end of the film, and it takes him forever on Pegasus. He's on Pegasus flying, and it takes him forever to get from amphitheater to the coast. Now I get that the coast is probably a little further away than Joppa, than the city, but everybody's walked real fucking slow from the city to the sea, and it didn't take them that long to get there, so I'm sure it's pretty close. And on Pegasus, I'm like, why is this taking forever? Again, you have to suspend disbelief. Why is it taking you like twice as long on Pegasus when the whole point of Pegasus was that you can fly through the air and get places faster than earlier in the film when you just walked to Joppa? Oh, the Kraken is so cool. I guess we kind of saw him earlier, but at this end part, I just love, like, every little piece of him is just really cool. I think he's the concept of what he looks like, if it was all Harryhausen, like, hands down to Harryhausen. That's such a great concept to make, because he got to do kind of, I would think, whatever he wanted, and so he created that monster, the Kraken, and it looks so cool. I love it. I think he's cool. And then the whole part where, are we surprised that Medusa's power still worked and worked on the Kraken? I guess we're not. I mean, this is how the end is supposed to happen. But it's still cool to be like, yes, Perseus defeats the Kraken with Medusa. Yeah. And so I know this is ridiculous, but I always had that thought when, as a kid, mostly. As an adult, I don't really think about it, but mostly as a kid, I always had that thought. When he uses Medusa against the Kraken, and the Kraken dies and the Kraken falls apart, okay, fine. But then he throws the head of Medusa, which is obviously still effective. He throws it into the ocean. How many sea creatures looked at Medusa and turned to stone? And she's just laying down there in the bottom. Like, how many fish and octopus and sharks and whales like came by unawares, and then all of a sudden Medusa's like turns them into stone? That's fucked up. Come on, Perseus. At least put her back in the bag and then throw her out there. That'd have been fine. Okay, put her head back in the bag so she can't fuck anybody up, and then throw her in the ocean. Come on, Perseus, you're destroying the sea life. Okay, so parts of this absolutely were ridiculous. I get it. It's one of those nostalgia films that you just watch and you have fun. You know, it didn't win any Academy Awards. It wasn't even nominated for any, which is fine. I love it. I love it to death. It's so fun. I can't give it a just because I love it doesn't mean I'm giving it a 5-star. I mean, I recognize that it is not, it's not one of the best films ever made. It's not, Goodfellas or anything like that. Or Shawshank Redemption, which is number 1 on the poster, but it is fun. It's great, and it's not on the poster. I get it. It's fine. Anyway, that's my review of Clash of the Titans. Let's hope I can get you one sooner than next Sunday or Monday or whatever. This was a little late. So anyway, next time I'll try to get you one that's on the poster and in the book, both. Okie doke. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.